Hello chess friends and welcome to Zarov's chess channel and welcome to the round 4 of the Grand Chess Tour in 2019 in the St. Louis Chess Club. So today we had the clash, Fabiano Caruana with the white pieces against Magnus Carlsen, the world champion and the world championship challenger are meeting again. Fabiano Caruana hasn't won a game against Magnus for a while now. Today he had his chances, I think, and he's playing now again with the white pieces. In some previous games, I think Fabiano Caruana could have won even some games. Magnus Carlsen didn't play the most accurate moves, so let's see what happened today. We had again the Nezmedinov attack, which was in which Fabiano Caruana is basically very successful. But today we see a different line by Magnus Carlsen. He didn't play his most common variation, this Lasker Sicilian defense, this Pelican variation. He chose sort of a French defense setup, and I've noticed in these setups he made inaccuracies, although he won the game against Nxg4 in this setup. In 25 moves, but Fabiano Caruana is really not Nxg4, and you'll see why in this video. So we have e4 by Fabiano Caruana, c5, knight on f3, knight on c6. Now we have the bishop on b5 move, the Nezmedinov variation, and most often here in this line Magnus Carlsen played the g6 move. He played it very often also against Fabiano Caruana. Here e6, that's the move he played against Nxg4, and here Fabiano Caruana immediately takes out this knight on c6 after b takes c6. Okay, black is continuing the game with the bishop pair, but the main idea here from white's perspective is to create a blocking system on light squares with the d3, b3 and similar moves, and try to restrict this bishop's ability, although this bishop is restricted anyway by its own pawns. So far this bishop pair is not so powerful, but of course Magnus Carlsen is the world champion. He'll try to find a way how to open the position for these bishops. So here d3 was played by Magnus, and now knight on e7 we have a b3. This b3 is sort of a positional move, very important, because one of the ideas while playing against the bishop pair, when you don't have your bishop pair yourself, is maybe to trade off this dark square bishop. So that's why we should really compete on good diagonals with these dark square bishops, and then try to trade this dark square bishop off, and then this bishop would be a weak one because we have many pawns on light squares, and there are many holes in this position. You see, these are the main targets from white's perspective, these weak square positions here. So that's why e5 is also a possibility which could really occupy the 5th rank. So these are the main strategical ideas. I'm not saying that these games always happen like this, but these are these ideas. So let's see how the players get use of their advantages and their opponents' disadvantages. So here knight on g6, and here h4 was played by Fabiano Caruana. Very important move. Whenever you see this knight on g file or on a b file, it's very good to kick it away, maybe with some flank attacks, because then you get some tempos on the knight. But the most important thing is that you have also gained some space on the 5th rank. Again, chess is all about gaining space. When you have maybe the space control, then you have more space to play with your own pieces and really restrict your opponent's ability to play. And here h5, Magnus is not allowing some h5 moves by white, and that's why here e5. This is very important positional move, closing the position here on the 5th rank. d6 and f6 are the most common counterplay moves in order to restrict this advantage, this space advantage that white has created. So that's why f6. And that's what I'm saying. In the game against Nxg4 here, Magnus Carlsen played the move d6 and crushed Nxg4 after 25 moves. And that's now the difference. Magnus wasn't confident in this game too much and didn't play this move d6 because you're facing Fabiano Caruana. Fabiano Caruana, also top grandmaster, also world championship challenger. Maybe in the near future we'll see Fabiano Caruana as the world champion. So here he decided to go into a more calm line. The common move here is really f6. So now Magnus is not underestimating Fabiano Caruana's game, and here plays the most common way here with the move f6. Knight from b to d2 was played, of course, with the idea to place the knight on a very active square. Very important square it is, because this knight on c4, it can be maybe challenged with the bishop on a6, but if you even trade off this knight on c4, you would always have a good and compact pawn structure here on the queen side. And the knight on c4 also is covering this d6 and also this e5 square. That's why d6 by Magnus was played, and maybe the best way would have been just even to take this pawn out after knight on c4, which of course creates the double attack on this pawn on e5. It's the best move here, maybe to play the move d6. But okay, here Magnus decides to really challenging now this space control, and now Fabiano Caruana simply goes he takes d6, and now e5 played by Carlsen. Bishop on b2, bishop on g4 was played. You see now this light square bishop comes on a very active square. This light square bishop is very powerful. Queen on e2 was played, of course, with the preparation to play queenside castling, because we have a good and compact position on the queen side. You see black's pieces are a little bit coordinated on the king side. Here we have the pin by the bishop, so it wouldn't be good here really to castle king side, because also we have to notice that this knight is the key defender of this advanced pawn on h4. So this h4 pawn could be maybe then a long-term weakness. So that's why here queen on e2 was played. And here Magnus played a slight inaccuracy. He played the move queen on d6. The best move that's suggested by the stop engines is the move queen on d7, because after queen on e4 you can kick away the queen with the move f5. You'll see the importance of this move bishop on f5, because you don't want to have this queen so centralized. The centralization of pieces is very important. So if your opponent plays now queen on e4, you have the possibility to play bishop on f5, and this pawn is weak anyway. You don't have to lose tempos and take it with the queen. In the next move you can take it with the bishop. But here Magnus played, as said, queen on d6, and after now g3, here we have bishop on e7. You see, you would love to have maybe the bishop here on d6 and maybe the queen on d7. And now castling was played by Fabiano Caruana, and now knight on f8. This is this idea to play maybe knight on e6 and then knight on d4, fixing the position. From white perspective, the main problem is that you cannot play the move c3 in order to prevent this knight on d4 move. So this is, if you play c3, of course, then rook on d8 will create a dangerous attack against this weak pawn on d3. So that's why rook from d to e1 was played first, and now knight on e6. Now comes the move queen on e4, and here of course getting out of the pin, because as said the main threat is to play knight on d4. And here Magnus played the main mistake in the game. He played the move queen on d5, and you can pause the video and try to find the best continuation here for white. It's really a great tactical shot by Fabiano Caruana, which was decisive in the continuation of the game, created many weaknesses in Magnus Carlsen's position. I hope you found this move. I have to admit I haven't found it myself while watching the game. It's the move knight takes on e5. Great move. If you take f takes e5, then f3 is closing the bishop. If you take the queen, then we can play d takes e4, and this bishop is trapped. You have gained a pawn. You have also the very dangerous attack on this pawn on e5, and the whole pawn structure now by Magnus Carlsen. I hope you realize these pawns are like I don't know, they're really just like you have thrown all over the board. They're not connected anyway. So that's why here after knight on e5, queen takes on e4 was played, but the same idea comes. We have d takes e4. It's just the same position with a different move order, and here knight on d4 was played by Magnus Carlsen, and now we have f takes g4. Great move, I think, by Fabiano Caruana. After h takes g4, I don't think that black has here winning chances. You can basically hope for a draw here, because as I said, look at this pawn structure. It's really weird. The rooks are not connected, the bishop is blocked out by this pawn. So great positional and tactical play by Fabiano Caruana. Knight on c4, you see how it is easy now for white to continue in this game, because you have to basically just find the best squares for this knight. Knight on c4 with an immediate attack on this weakness on e5. Castling was played by Magnus Carlsen, finally connecting these rooks, but pardon me. Let's go to this position again. So here knight on c4 was played and castling, and here Fabiano Caruana simply improved the position of the king, which is very important. Now he allowed Magnus Carlsen to go with this rook into the game. Of course, it's an immediate attack on this pawn on c2, but this pawn on c2 is not so important. The main idea here from white perspective is to open somehow here the h file, because we have a very powerful attack. If you of course immediately take here this pawn on c2, then we have bishop takes on d4, and then you lose the rook. So that's why knight on e5 was played by Caruana, and here knight on c2. Of course, as said, you cannot take this pawn with the rook, you will lose the game immediately. So knight on g4, if Caruana takes another pawn, we have now a 3 on 1 situation here on the king side. Although we have here a 3 on 2 situation, I hope you realize these are double pawns, so that's why these are basically only 2 pawns. Rook on g2 was played here, rook on g1 by Caruana, and now rook on e2, and this is now a very important move, h5. h5 of course liberates now with the preparation of course h6, this diagonal for the bishop, this file for the rook. Of course the knight is very well placed, so we have also some attacking possibilities through the square e5. Perfect coordination of pieces, although it seems that Magnus Carlsen has an attack. You have to be careful. Maybe there Carlsen has here some tactics. There are 2 or 3 moves tactics, so if you're careful you can win this game very easily. So c4 was played by Carlsen, here h6, and now c3. And you have now many tactical possibilities, but here Caruana chose the best way. He placed first the move h7. You see now how dangerous this pawn is. If you play something like king on h8, then knight on e5 with the preparation, and then knight on g6 leads to checkmate. So that's why Magnus had to go on f7, and here we have rook on f1. So you see the game for white is very easy. You cannot make mistakes basically here. Here we have bishop on f6, and now bishop on c1. Here knight on b4 was played, and the main idea here for black is to play this covered check. It's of course to move c2, and it's checkmate because this bishop is covering the diagonal. That's why here e5 played by Fabiano Caruana. We can use this pawn, this mobile pawn. We have now the powerful pin here on this bishop, and it's basically game over. But Magnus Carlsen continued, tried to maybe find some tactical ideas to surprise here Caruana. And here rook takes on a2 was played. Now knight on e3, very important move, because also the threat was here to play again this move c2, which would be of course again checkmate. So tricky stuff, but Fabiano Caruana didn't fall for this. He played knight on e3, played very calm in the game. Rook on h8 had to be played, and now simple e takes f6. We have now g5 by Carlsen, and now rook on d1, improving the position of the rook. If you try something like c2, okay, we can give up maybe now our knight. After maybe knight on c2, you see you lose the rook. So that's why if you would have to take with the rook, but then bishop on b2, and then rook on d7 is very dangerous. So that's why here Magnus Carlsen played first the move a5, tried to get use of another pawn, but it's really game over here. White has a completely winning position. Played first the move rook on d4, preventing some a4 ideas. Of course, then you lose simply the knight. c2 was played by Carlsen, and here knight on c2, we have now tactical sequence which leads again to winning position for white. Rook takes on c2, and now Caruana was maybe a little bit mocking also with Magnus Carlsen. He played rook takes on b4, allowed this intermediate check. Here rook takes on c1, king takes on c1, and now b takes a takes b4, and here rook on h6, and in this position Magnus Carlsen resigned. Unbelievable stuff, because we have now a perfect Zugzwang position here by Fabiano Caruana. Of course, you cannot play too active with your king, because then you get f7 and then f8 with the promotion. When the rook takes, then we have h8 again with the promotion. So of course you cannot also move the rook, because then we have immediate promotion here, and the problem is that you cannot attack this rook and come closer to this pawn and try to grab it. So basically you're forced to do some moves with your king, and meanwhile white can play with his own king very actively and grab all of these pawns. Great game, I think, by Fabiano Caruana. Very nice tactics in the middle game. This discovered attack with getting this weird pawn structure for Magnus Carlsen. Magnus Carlsen, after 4 rounds, has now 2 wins and 2 losses. So we'll see what will happen in the continuation of this tournament. I really love this tournament because we have many surprises. You see, Magnus Carlsen is also not unbeatable in this tournament. Levon Aronian, after 3 rounds, had 3 wins. We'll see what Levon Aronian did today in his game after against Ding Liren. I'm really looking forward. See you soon with some new games. As I said, I really enjoyed this tournament. Okay, meanwhile you can watch my other commented chess games from this tournament with some more Ding Liren, Magnus Carlsen, and some more games. And you can also subscribe to my channel if you like this content. Thank you for watching, guys, and chess is the best, of course.